Hey, it's your friends Kelly and Bob, and we're back with the emotional series. Today we're talking about shame.
And shame is an emotion that arises when we feel that maybe we've made a poor choice that doesn't align with our value system. But then we take it a step further and we identify ourselves that we made the poor choice because something is wrong with us. And we start accepting these ideas and beliefs that we are not worthy and we're not good enough. But it doesn't stay just with that thought. Then it moves into the feeling of unworthiness, and we start expressing the idea of shame in our decisions.
Yeah, and so we just dropped an episode with Joshua Broom. Go check it out if you haven't already. Unbelievable story. This guy, we just love it. So impressed with him, and he talked about shame in his life. Joshua Broom is the guy that went from one of the top adult film stars in the world to now a pastor and impacting people for God in Christ. And he shared how he had to navigate this throughout his life, and it almost caused him to take his own life. But it all started with his absentee father when he was younger. He just felt like his father didn't want him, had rejected him. And because of that, he started to feel a lot of shame. And the way that he expressed it was trying to prove his worth, as Kelly talked about. That's one of the, I think, common out expressions of shame, is we're trying to make up for something that we perceive that we lack or don't actually have within ourselves. That's why we're being rejected. In his case, he felt that's why his dad didn't want him in his life.
But I think also it was years of having this idea that I'm going to go prove I'm worthy, but not understanding that that belief had been accepted at such a deep subconscious level at such a young age.
Yeah, right. And then the way that he ended up making obviously some decisions that he regretted greatly. He got into the adult film industry and started climbing that ladder. And he talked about the year that he actually won Adult Male Film Actor of the Year, and how when he held that award and saw his name on it, he felt like deep regret and shame and remorse, because he knew in his heart that he shouldn't be doing what he was doing. But like he said, all those decisions motivated and driven by the shame emotion, he could look back and see how those dots connected and how he got to where he was, because that is what he let drive him for the better part of his life.
I think the really scary thing about shame, there's a lot of things, but it's when the inner dialogue that we don't take control of is really misplaced. And the power of those suggestions and ideas, and it's that quiet voice that we're having that conversation with that are constantly being suggested that we're accepting, they're really playing out in all areas of our life. And they're holding us back, they're keeping us stuck, but they also want us to stay with those suggestions and ideas in silence.
Yeah. And so if somebody in our audience is hearing our message today and going, that's me, that's something I'm dealing with, what would our advice be?
Well, I think it's really important. I mean, we've all experienced the emotion.
Yeah,
We all
absolutely.
have. And I think what is different for me now is that I assess it differently. I understand that some of the decisions that we make may not be the ones that, after we've done it, that we're like, oh, I would do that again. But they're inevitable because they're life lessons. And instead of taking the thought that I'm going to focus on me, that something's flawed, and not pay attention to the behavior. So now it's like taking a look at the behavior and using it as feedback. Why did I make that decision? What triggered me to make that decision? Maybe I had an expectation of myself that wasn't even realistic, and I'm now using that as feedback.
Or maybe it's when you start to uncover it, you realize that the motivation was behind it was you thought you were lacking in some way, and so you're compensating for something that you were trying to make up for. In reality, more than likely, it's not real. It's just something that we've made up in our mind.
But I think the dangerous thing also with shame is this emotion. It causes you to believe that, no one else is feeling this or no one else made that type of decision and you're alone. So then it causes you to go inward. And then you're not even able to put your focus outside of you on someone else because you're so on yourself of what maybe other people supposedly are thinking about you and judging you, and they're not.
I think this goes to the heart of like what we teach, self-image, and that if you don't have a healthy self-image, we're going to tend to make decisions that are going to continue to compound in that way, and they lead to results that we don't want. But we're chasing some illusion that doesn't even exist because we don't know who we are, and we're not confident in who we are. And I know when we talk to Joshua and you look at him now, it's hard to believe that was the guy he was describing all those years ago.
Well, it was what really, I'm going back to the interview and a couple things that he said, one in his book, 7 Lies That Ruin Your Life, he had mentioned that when you know who you are, you're okay with who you're not.
No, yeah.
But that takes great
Say that again.
self-awareness.
I think that's worth saying.
I just said, when you know who you are, you're okay with who you're not. And in my personal experience, I think I'm pretty confident now with who I am, but it's taken a lot of personal work in regards to self-awareness. And I'm okay that I'm not perfect now. That was a big one for me.
Oh, darling, I think you're perfect.
But I mean, seriously.
I like you just the way you are, too.
It's been something
And
that
I'm
I've
glad
been
that you're there.
able to let go of. But to move through shame, we have to have self-compassion, but it also takes self-awareness.
Self-awareness. And how do we grow self-awareness? We study. That's really a study of ourselves. So it's like Bob studying Bob, Kelly studying Kelly. And through the study of the right things, the right information, we can grow our self-awareness, and we can also grow our self-image. And that's the most important thing, is how we see ourselves. What does Bob believe to be true about Bob? That's self-image. What does Kelly believe to be true about Kelly? We need to take control of that process and those thoughts, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what I think, what she thinks. It's not what the outside thinks. And I think when we're chasing some illusion that like Joshua's chasing, it can lead us down the wrong path. And it definitely led him down the wrong path. But he met, and this is why if you haven't seen this episode, go check it out. But he met what he called an angel. And this interaction, though it brief, changed the course of his life and took him off the cliff, so to speak. And today he's doing God's work all over the world. It's pretty inspiring, the shift he's made.
But to be able to say, who is Bob, who is Kelly, you have to be in the now to be able to answer that. And I think with shame, we are living in the past with some of those decisions, old images, old beliefs of ourselves. And I think the self-compassion, what I have learned, and I think I invite you guys to experience this as well, is it starts with kindness and self-love. But one of the important ways to do that is through the exhale of letting go of those old beliefs, old ideas, and things that no longer serve us. And when you know who you are and you're on purpose, I think, and I've noticed, and hopefully you have as well, that you look at, if you want to call them mistakes or lessons, very differently now.
One of the things that I still do today in the morning is, and try this, it'll feel corny or uncomfortable at first, but look in the mirror and say, I like myself, I feel terrific. I like myself, I feel terrific. Auto-suggest that to yourself over and over and over again, and then make a decision to eradicate shame from your life. It's not going to impact you anymore. You're going to grow in God's image and likeness of who He created you to be. All right, that's all we had on shame today. We'll see you next time on the Emotional Series.